Welcome back. I haven't posted for a while, but I got a pleasant surprise this week from my AD. I was called and offered this new Milgauss 16400 GV with the Z Blue dial. I accepted right away and put down 20% deposit and picked it up the next day. I'm filming outside today so you can see this in some natural light. This specific color was released in 2014 and it's still a fairly rare watch to see at the AD and difficult to get new. It's not in super high demand like the Daytona or new Submariner, but I just don't think Rolex makes very many of these. My sales associate said he hadn't seen one come into the store for at least in the past 3 to 4 years in this color. The white dial version was discontinued recently, and this Z Blue color is more popular than the black dial. My prior purchase history with this AD was a two-tone Daytona, Sea Dweller, and Datejust, and I mentioned I wanted this Milgauss about 9 to 10 months ago, and it was third on my wish list after the ceramic Daytona and GMT. And they were nice enough to call me when this came in because they knew I was a regular customer and lived locally and ready to buy. I don't know if I was the first one they called, but this watch was never actually put out for display. So overall, I think I'm making some progress in getting steel sports watches. Going on to the watch box, everything is standard here. It has the manual and the warranty card and the service information on the back. This is the new style warranty card without your name on it, but it does have the date of purchase there. I asked them to not remove the back sticker, but they said they had to remove all the stickers because Rolex was getting more strict about this and they don't want to risk losing their AD status. They sized the bracelet for me and it fits pretty well right now. With the watch itself, I have to start with the dial since that's the standout feature. It's not a mass appeal dial, but it is very niche and unique. There's no other Rolex with quite this combination of colors. They do use orange accents on the Explorer 2, and they have other kinds of blue dials, but nothing like this Z Blue dial or the green tinted sapphire crystal outside of the Milgauss line. The Z Blue dial is made with zirconium, and the color changes with both the ambient light and the angle of view. Looking straight on in bright light, it's a sunburst light blue and becomes darker and more subdued in dark light, but it doesn't go deep dark navy like my blue Datejust dial. Sometimes the green crystal edge just disappears when looking straight on. Looking at an angle, the green from the sapphire crystal really stands out, and it starts to diffuse into the dial and the color blends into a bluish green dial. I personally like the orange lightning bolt since it gives it more character. I also like the orange accents on the chapter ring, but maybe would have preferred some plain orange square markers instead of the numerals. Normally I prefer Mercedes hands on a sports watch, but the Milgauss seems to lean towards a dressier watch, so the stick hands here are fine with me. The Milgauss name is at the top, similar to the Datejust and Day-Date, as opposed to the Submariner and GMT, which have their names at the bottom. The Rolex crown at 12 o'clock is white gold applied, like the OP and Datejust. The Swiss made is at the very bottom and does not have a crown in between those words, and there's also no crown etched within the crystal. Looking at the case, I would say it's most similar to a beefed up Oyster Perpetual case. It's thicker and heavier than the OP, so it makes room for the inner iron Faraday cage. But it still curves down at the ends to conform to the wrist, but not quite as curvy as the Daytona. And it doesn't have that sharp, flat, slab-sided character of the GMT. This original case design came out in 2007, so it never went full on into the super case design trend. The lugs still have a nice taper to them without the squared off look of the GMT. On the back it has some inscription around the edges. This is different than every other Rolex, which has a plain back case, except for this Milgauss, Sea Dweller, and Deep Sea. Lots of high polished surfaces on the case and the bracelet, so it's easy to smudge and scratch. The bracelet is excellent, just like all modern Rolex. The clasp does not have that flip down safety, but it does have that easy link extension. So that's similar to the Datejust clasp. On the wrist, it feels comfortable. My wrist is 6.5 inches, and this 40 millimeter case is on the large side for my wrist, but it's not oversized like my SD43. The dial has a large surface area because of the lack of rotating bezel or cyclops, but I think the proportions are actually good. I was concerned the plain bezel might be too thick, but it looks actually right in person, mostly because it's a conical bezel, which is sleeker instead of domed. That's my initial impression of the Milgauss. It has some features that mix together the professional line and classic line. It's not as sporty as the Submariner, but it does have some heft to the case and the extra magnetic resistance. It's not as dressy as the Datejust, but it still has that plain conical bezel, applied Rolex crown, and the stick hands and hour markers. I was drawn to the Milgauss mainly because of its design and unique colors, but I also like the idea that it's a scientist's watch. I'll try to do another video about how this fits into my collection and a comparison to some of my other watches, and I'll try to get back into posting more often. I've been caught up in some other interests. I'd like to make some other types of videos, but my last camping video didn't get that very many views. But feel free to comment below on what kind of videos you want to see, and thanks for watching.